season of the Wish is nearly upon us, and with it comes a new suite of artifact mods, the most noteworthy being anti-barrier sidearm, with sidearms being the only weapon in the artifact to receive anti-barrier capabilities. Unless you plan on using Arbalest, Wishender, or Ariana's Vow, you're going to need a sidearm to get you through Champions. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorites and what makes it so special. If you like this type of content, let me know by leaving a like and consider subscribing, as I do a lot of Destiny 2 content as well as other general gaming content. Forerunner, an exotic sidearm that released with Bungie's 30th anniversary pack, is what we're going to be talking about today, and it is one of my favorite exotics in the game, as well as one of the most versatile exotics that you can use. In this video, we'll talk about what it does well, what it doesn't do well, and why you should consider using it over things like Ariana's Vow, Arbalest, and Wishender. When we take a look at Forerunner, there are a few things that we should take note of. The first is that this weapon fires full auto with increased rate of fire. Regardless of whether your game is set to fire full auto or not, this weapon will fire full auto when the trigger is held. It says increased rate of fire, but in my testing I found that this gun shoots 200 rounds per minute regardless of whether or not you're holding down the trigger or tapping the trigger. When tapping the trigger, this weapon will have mitigated recoil and improved accuracy. I found that while scoped in and firing at range, holding down the trigger was not the way to go, as the accuracy became really unreliable. However, while hip firing, I found that the recoil nor the accuracy became really much of a problem. The catalyst on this weapon really doesn't add or take away to the experience. However, it is helpful in a pinch. For several seconds after a final blow, you can reload to consume part of your ammo reserves, and it will convert your next thrown grenade into a fragmentation grenade. The way this works is you'll get a final blow, you'll hold reload, it will do an animation similar to Hardlight and Dead Messenger, and your magazine will be reloaded, and 6 of your reserve ammo will be consumed in order to create this fragmentation grenade. And this fragmentation grenade will persist unless you hop on something like a Sparrow or some other vehicle, such as a Pike or an Interceptor. This fragmentation grenade deals kinetic damage, and while it's nice to have, 6 ammo for this thing is quite a lot, and to be honest with you, this does not make or break the weapon. What we really care about is the final sentence of our intrinsic trait. It deals increased precision damage to unshielded targets. And here is where we will start our conversation on what this weapon does really, really well. In the footage you're seeing, I'm dealing anywhere from 12 to 16,000 damage against major and minor enemies in a Legend Nightfall strike. As long as the target you're shooting at does not have a shield, this thing absolutely ruins your day. Against barrier champions, my preliminary testing says that this gun will take 4 shots to break a barrier shield. In terms of damage to champions, I found that in this Nightfall I was dealing around 10,000 damage to stunned or unstunned barrier champions. The number one drawback to this weapon is that it is a sidearm that uses special ammo. With no reserve mods, you're able to hold 12 in the magazine and 60 in reserve. With one reserve mod, you're able to hold 67 rounds in reserve, 2 reserve mods allow you to hold 73, and 3 reserve mods allow you to hold 75. Personally, I would not recommend you use any more than 1 reserve mod if you decide to do so. In the Nightfall run you're seeing, I did run into ammo issues once or twice. However, I was not using any sort of special ammo finder, nor was I using a kinetic ammo scavenger. The only other drawback to this weapon that I found was the fact that shooting elemental shields was an absolute nightmare, dealing anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 damage in this Nightfall, which is absolutely nothing. So now let's take a look at Forerunner's main competition: Arbalest, Ariana's Vow, and Wishender. In terms of stunning barrier champions, Arbalest and Wishender take the cake with only requiring 1 shot. Ariana's Vow only requires 2, assuming you still have the first glance buff. So why should you consider using Forerunner when its main competitors all require less shots to stun barrier champions? And my answer comes down to simply one word: versatility. Forerunner's high rate of fire allows you to put quick and easy burst damage onto targets at close range. This trait alone makes me put Forerunner above Arbalest and Wishender, as both of those weapons require a charge up or draw time in order to fire just 1 shot. So why should you use Forerunner over Ariana's Vow? After all, they're both scoped weapons and they both deal a very high amount of precision damage. Again, rate of fire is my answer. Forerunner at 200 rounds a minute means it's going to be way more versatile at medium to short range over Ariana's Vow's 90 rounds per minute. We also have ammo reserves. Forerunner is able to hold 60 rounds in reserve at base, and Ariana's Vow is only able to hold 21 rounds. That means that ammo issues are going to be more frequent while using Ariana's Vow. Now, I don't want you to think that Arbalest, Ariana's Vow, and Wishender are bad weapons. I've used every single one of them in high-end content and I have had success with each one of them. However, none of them succeed in more situations than Forerunner does. It is an extremely versatile sidearm that can quickly stun champions and put high amounts of burst damage on major and minor enemies at any given distance. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to toss a comment down below and tell me what sidearm you're thinking about using in Season of the Wish. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. I hope you'll give Forerunner a try, and I'll see you in the next one.